4 case studies that show how this has played out. Using the integral approaches really helps. One of them is big battles that were taking place in Hawaii regarding fishing. Now, what was the battle? Well, there were these fishing companies going in and around coral reefs and fishing for all these exotic fish that you see in pet stores. I mean, those fish come from somewhere, they just aren't manufactured in plant Taiwan. But they were going up against the tourist trade. I mean, the people with boats who would take tourists out to go snorkeling and see all the pretty fish around the reefs in Hawaii. I mean, it was a huge battle about this. And both sides, of course, had their economists and scientists weighing in. And so there was a scientist who came to a couple of our integral ecology meetings in Denver, and he had a great case history. He actually applied this integral model, really getting into these kind of first person and community-oriented value issues and how people were experiencing it, letting people speak the truth as they understand it. And they got to some kind of solution partly because of this, which wasn't perfect, obviously it couldn't be perfect from anybody's point of view because both sides couldn't have everything they wanted, but they got it done well enough that the tensions were really lowered and things seem to be doing much better. They're not taking so many fish, but they're doing it in a more sustainable way, and the people who do the snorkeling trips and stuff are happier with what's happening and so on. But that's a success story. There's a couple of others like that. Another one in Costa Rica, another one in the Great Bear Rainforest up in British Columbia, where Darcy Riddle and her friends actually applied this integral perspective before they knew it existed. And then they discovered Ken's work and said, wow, look what we're doing. So we have there. So in fact, the introduction starts with a brief account of that British Columbia rainforest logging issue. So yeah, there are success stories. One basic lesson I think about this, it has to do with being heard. Okay, one of the problems you have when you're in a dispute is you're convinced that the other person is not getting it. They're just not getting it. Anyone who's married, of course, or any kind of relationship knows about this, right? But if you're in other situations, political situations, and we can imagine labor unions going up against management, all kind of long-standing political problems. This is where facilitators can be so important. If you can get the two sides to trust someone that is really getting you, then you can create the conditions in which both sides finally feel gotten about the problem. They got people who are living with these long histories. I think of Northern Ireland. People living with long histories of murdering each other and feeling dissed and abused and threatened and all they have until recently all they've been about is no future. There's no future because we live in the past. It's all about getting even. And one of the reasons that a breakthrough has occurred in Ireland was because of all these meetings that people had where they finally got to speak the truth as they understood it to the other side, which listened and showed through their questioning and commenting that they got it. They got what it was like to be Catholic in Ulster. Or they got what it was like to be have their family member murdered by the IRA. So once there's the experience of being heard, then you can start looking for some common ground around things. And I think that's part of what this is about too. Learning to speak to each other respectfully. Getting where people are coming from. If someone's a fundamentalist Christian, but there's a way to speak to people like that in a way that's respectful and serious and allows them to hear what the environmental problem should mean to them theologically and in terms of their personal responsibilities. Same thing with moderns and greens. There's a way to talk to people which exhibits an understanding on your part and a serious understanding, not some pretense. They have to get that you really get where they're coming from. And that means that you have to go back into your own experience and remember what it's like to be there. And to speak from that in a way that allows information, about what's going on to show up for them in a way that they might be interested in doing something about it, rather than immediately dismissing you because you're some green who they think is, and they think you regard them with contempt. And of course, it's true in many cases. So I think that's an important message, not limited to integral theory or something, but this is something that's really proven to be so powerful in the last 30 or 40 years of work that's done in the domain of human development work.